They called him Jae-sung, but never to his face. In Seoul's Gangnam district, men twice his age bowed when he entered a room. He was 34, he owned 7 clubs, 2 hotels, and enough debt to keep 3 city officials quiet. People assumed he enjoyed the power. They were wrong. He tolerated it the way you tolerate a chronic pain, constantly, bitterly, without choice. It was a Thursday in late September when the thing he'd been hiding finally cornered him. Her name was Minji, 26, legs that cost more than most people's cars. She worked the VIP rooms at Club Azur, his flagship property in Cheongdam-dong. Jae-sung had requested her specifically because she didn't talk much. He needed someone who understood transactions, not intimacy. The room was cold, 16 floors up, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, black and glittering like oil. She touched his chest. He felt nothing. She kissed his neck. Still nothing. 15 minutes passed. Her confusion turned to discomfort. His shame turned to rage. Not at her, at himself. He told her to leave, paid her triple. She took the money without looking at him. The door clicked shut, and he sat on the edge of the bed in a $15,000 suit, staring at his hands like they belonged to someone else. This was the 4th time in 3 months. Jae-sung's father had taught him one rule: a man who cannot control himself cannot control others. In their world, weakness was contagious. It spread through whispers, then rumors, then coups. He'd seen men gutted for less. Not literally, though that had happened too. Mostly they just disappeared. Relevance drained away until they were managing convenience stores in Incheon, pretending the past hadn't existed. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts, stopped at Dr. Yoon, urologist, discreet, expensive. He'd been once already. The doctor had run tests, found nothing wrong. Psychological, he'd said, as if that made it better, as if the mind wasn't harder to fix than the body. Jae-sung didn't call. Instead, he went downstairs to his office, drank whiskey that tasted like nothing, watched security footage from the club, hundreds of people pretending to have fun, spending money they didn't have to impress people who didn't care. He used to find it amusing. Now it just looked exhausting. His phone buzzed. A message from Sung-ho, his second-in-command. Issue at the port. Need you. He didn't want to go, but that was the thing about this life. You didn't get to want things. You just moved. The port was in Incheon, an hour west. Jae-sung took the Maybach. Driver didn't speak. Good. The shipment was late, 60 kilograms of something that wasn't his business to ask about, except it was, because his name was attached. The Russians were complaining. The Russians always complained, but this time they had a point. Sung-ho met him at the warehouse. Skinny guy, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Loyal because Jae-sung had paid off his gambling debt 5 years ago. Loyalty bought with money only lasts until someone offers more, but Sung-ho didn't have better options. He's saying customs flagged it. Someone talked. Jae-sung felt a familiar tightness in his chest. Betrayal was a constant hum in this world. You just had to figure out the frequency. Who? Don't know yet. I'm working on it. Work faster. He left before Sung-ho could explain further. He didn't care about the details. That's what he paid people for, to care about things he couldn't afford to care about. On the drive back, he thought about Minji's face, the way she'd looked at him when nothing happened. Not disgusted. Worse. Pitiful. He'd have preferred disgust. Disgust you can fight. Pity just sits there, heavy and true. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Mr. Back? A woman's voice, American accent, slightly rough like she smoked or didn't sleep enough. Who is this? A friend gave me your number, said you might need help. I don't need help. Everyone needs help with something. He should have hung up, but he didn't, and that hesitation, that 1 second of weakness, was the crack everything else would pour through. What kind of help? He asked. She paused, then quieter. The kind you can't get from a doctor. He didn't ask how she knew. In Seoul, secrets were currency. Someone always knew. The question was what they wanted for it. Where are you? If you're listening right now, here's to remind you that we care about you and your support is much appreciated. Remember how we agreed to help me prove my mother wrong? She said nobody cares about stories where love and survival thrives through difficult situations. If any part of this made you think about the times you had to love or pay sacrifices that cost you, then subscribe. We're building a community that cares about you. Comment where you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs to remember that broken don't mean destroyed. Back to our story. She told him to meet her in Itaewon, Friday night, a neighborhood where foreigners clustered like they were still afraid of the rest of the city. Jae-sung hated Itaewon. Too loud, too mixed, no clear hierarchy, but he went anyway because the alternative was another night alone in his apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering when his body had decided to quit on him. The address she gave was a third-floor walk-up above a Nigerian restaurant. No sign, no security, just a black door with a buzzer that didn't work. He knocked, waited. The smell of jollof rice drifted up from below, mixing with cigarette smoke from somewhere unseen. The door opened. She was not what he expected. Black woman, late 30s, maybe 40, hair in a wrap, colors he didn't have names for, jeans and a sweater that had seen better years, no makeup, tired eyes that had stopped apologizing for being tired. She looked at him the way a mechanic looks at a broken engine, professionally, without judgment. "Jae-sung?" she asked. He nodded. She stepped aside. He entered. The apartment was small. One room serving as living room, bedroom, office, a kitchenette in the corner, a kid's drawing taped to the fridge, stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun. He noticed because it was the only bright thing in the space. "You have a child," he said. "Two. They're with a friend tonight." She gestured to a chair. "Sit." He didn't sit. "What is this?" "You called me." "You called me?" "Because someone said you needed help." Was he wrong? Jae-sung looked around. No cameras he could see, no weapons, no leverage, just a woman in a cramped apartment in a part of town where nobody he knew would ever visit. It was perfect, in a way. Anonymous, invisible. He sat. She poured tea. He didn't drink it. She didn't push. "What's your name?" "Keisha." "How long have you been in Korea?" 6 years. "Doing what?" "Surviving." She sat across from him. "You want to know if this is real or if you're about to get robbed. It's real, and I don't want your money." "Everyone wants money." "I want rent paid on time and my kids to have winter coats. Money's just the middleman." He almost smiled. Almost. "So what do you want?" "To help you, if you let me." "How?" She leaned back, studied him. "The problem isn't your body. You already know that. Doctors told you. Tests came back clean. So it's in here." She tapped her temple. "And here." She tapped her chest. "Something you're carrying. Something heavy." Jae-sung's jaw tightened. "You a therapist?" "No." "Then what?" "I've seen this before. Men who can't let go. Men who think control is the same as strength. It's not. Control is just fear dressed up." He should have left, should have stood up, walked out, forgotten this ever happened. But he didn't, because she wasn't right, and that terrified him more than anything else. "What do you do?" he asked. "I listen. I touch. I help you remember you're human." That sounds like therapy. It's not. Therapy is talking. This is something else. She didn't elaborate. He didn't push. Not yet. They talked for an hour. She asked questions, not invasive ones, not about his work or his money, about sleep, about dreams, about the last time he felt calm. He couldn't remember. She didn't seem surprised. When he left, she told him to come back Sunday, same time. He said maybe. She said, okay, No pressure, no sales pitch, just an open door. He went back Sunday. This time she had him lie down. Dim lights, incense burning, something earthy he didn't recognize. She placed her hands on his shoulders, just rested them there, warm, steady. He waited for something to happen. Nothing did. Just her hands, just breathing. Relax, she said. I am relaxed. You're holding your breath. He was. He let it out. She moved her hands to his chest. Not sexual, clinical almost, like she was feeling for something broken. You carry everything here, she said, right under the ribs, all the things you don't say. I say what I need to say. No, you say what keeps people afraid. That's different. Her hands moved lower, still over his clothes, still careful. He felt his body responding. Not much, just a flicker, then nothing again. She stopped. Don't force it. The body doesn't negotiate. He left frustrated, but he came back Tuesday. Then Thursday. Then Saturday. Each time, a little further. Not sex, not even close. Just touch, just presence. She'd talk while she worked, soft and low, about nothing important. Her daughter's school project, the subway being delayed, how she missed real winter, the kind that actually snowed. He started talking, too. Small things at first. The whiskey he drank, the car he drove. Then bigger things. His father. The first time he'd watched someone get hurt and didn't stop it. The weight of running an empire nobody thought he deserved. She listened, never judged, never tried to fix him. By the third week, he realized he was thinking about her when he wasn't there. Not sexually, just thinking. Wondering what she was doing, if her kids were okay, if she ever got tired of carrying other people's weight. It confused him. He didn't do attachment. Attachment was leverage. Leverage was weakness. But he kept going back. October bled into November. The air turned cold. He started noticing small changes. The way she'd smile when he arrived, like she was actually happy to see him. The way she'd make him tea, even though he never drank it. The way she'd adjust the blanket over him before she started, making sure he was warm. One night, he asked her why she did this. Did what? This. Help men like me. She paused, her hands still on his chest. Because I know what it's like to need help and not have anyone safe to ask. What happened to you? Same thing that happens to everyone. Life. She didn't elaborate. He didn't push. But he filed it away. Another piece of a puzzle he didn't know he was solving. The sessions started lasting longer. 2 hours. 3. He'd arrive at 8 and leave past midnight. She never rushed him, never checked her phone, just gave him space to exist without performing. He started paying her, not because she asked, because he needed the transaction to make sense. She took the money, used it for her kids. He saw the new coats, the better shoes. It made him feel useful in a way his other money never did. But something else was happening, something he didn't have language for. He'd catch himself wondering what she thought about him. Not his reputation, not his power, just him. The man lying on her floor at midnight, trying to remember how to breathe. And worse, he started caring what she thought. That was the pattern, not the sessions, not the slow progress his body was making. The pattern was the need. The way he started organizing his week around seeing her, the way Tuesday felt too far from Sunday, the way he'd drive past Itaewon on nights they didn't meet just to feel closer to something real. He noticed it on a Wednesday in mid-November. He was in a meeting. Russians, again. Numbers, threats, the usual dance. And all he could think about was whether Keisha's daughter had finished that school project, whether they'd gotten the science kit she'd mentioned. Sung-ho was talking. Jae-sung wasn't listening. Boss? He blinked. What? I asked if you wanted me to handle it. Handle what? Sung-ho exchanged a look with the others. Concern. Confusion. Jae-sung never lost focus. focus was survival. The port situation, the informant. Yeah, handle it. He left early, drove to Itaewon. It wasn't their scheduled day. He didn't care. He needed to see her, needed to prove to himself this wasn't what it felt like. He knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Still nothing. He waited outside for an hour. She never came. He called her the next morning. No answer. Sent a message. Nothing. By Friday, he was parked outside her building at dawn, waiting like some obsessed teenager. He'd never waited for anyone in his life. People waited for him. But there he was, in a car worth more than the entire block, watching a door that wouldn't open. She finally appeared at noon, walking slow, groceries in both hands, one of her kids beside her, the younger one, maybe 6 years old. Boy, bright red jacket. Keisha looking exhausted, more than usual, like she'd been crying or hadn't slept or both. Jae-sung got out of the car. She saw him, stopped. Her face did something complicated. Surprise, then worry, then something harder to read. Not now, she said quietly. Where have you been? Jae-sung, not now. The boy looked up at him, big eyes, curious, not afraid. Mommy? Who's that? A friend. Go inside, baby. Take these. She handed him the lighter bag. He obeyed, glancing back once before disappearing into the building. Keisha turned to him. You can't be here during the day. You didn't answer. I was busy. Doing what? She looked at him like he'd just asked the dumbest question in the world. Living, working, being a mother. Pick one. You could have texted. I don't owe you updates. The words hit harder than they should have. He stepped closer. She didn't back away, but her body language shifted, defensive, tired. What happened? He asked. Nothing you need to worry about. Tell me anyway. She sighed, set the remaining bag down. My ex found out where I lived, showed up Tuesday night, drunk, angry, said some things. I had to move the kids to a friend's place for a few days. Jae-sung felt something cold settle in his chest. He hurt you? No, just scared the kids. That's worse. Where is he now? I don't know. Gone, hopefully. What's his name? Keisha's eyes sharpened. No. What's his name, Keisha? I said no, I don't need you handling my problems. I can make him disappear. She laughed, bitter, sharp. You think that's help? You think that's what I need? Another man solving things with violence? He didn't have an answer for that. She picked up her bag. I have to go. My shift starts in an hour. What shift? I clean offices in Gangnam. Night shift. 4 buildings, 6 nights a week. He didn't know that. He'd assumed, what, that she just did this? That helping broken men was her whole life? The realization made him feel stupid and small. You need money? He asked. I need you to leave. Keisha, please. The word stopped him. She'd never said please before, never asked, just gave, and now she was asking him to go, and he didn't know how to process that. He left, but he didn't go far. He had Sung-ho look into it. The ex, James, Webb, American, veteran, dishonorable discharge, history of assault, restraining order filed and dropped 3 times, currently unemployed, staying at a Goshiwon in Sinchon, the kind of place you rent by the week when you've run out of better options. Jae-sung could have ended it in a phone call, 1 word to the right people, problem solved. But Keisha's voice kept playing in his head. Another man solving things with violence, like that was the problem, like he was the problem. So he did nothing, and doing nothing felt worse than anything he'd ever done. The next session was Sunday. He showed up. So did she. They didn't talk about it. She worked on him like always, hands careful, voice low. But something had shifted. There was distance now, professional distance, the kind you put between yourself and something dangerous. He could feel her pulling back. Stop, he said. Her hands paused. What? Stop pretending. I'm not pretending anything. You're afraid of me now. She pulled her hands away completely, sat back. No, I'm afraid of what you could do. That's different. I wouldn't hurt you. I know, but you'd hurt him, and that would come back on me and my kids. That's how it always works. He came to your home, and I handled it. I always handle it. That's what I do. I survive. I don't need saving. But her voice cracked on the last word, and Jae-sung saw it then. The weight she carried, the exhaustion that wasn't just physical. She was drowning, same as him, just in different water. Let me help, he said. You are helping. This, right here. Don't ruin it by trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix. He wanted to argue, wanted her to see that he could solve this, could make her life easier, but that was his father's voice in his head. Control, fix, dominate. And where had that gotten him? 34 years old, powerful and impotent in equal measure. So he stayed quiet, let her work. Felt her hands return to his chest, still gentle, still careful, but the ease was gone. November turned colder. The sessions continued, 3 times a week, sometimes 4. He was making progress. Physically, at least. His body was starting to remember what it felt like to want something, to respond. But it only happened with her, only in that small room that smelled of incense and old radiators. Everywhere else, nothing. He tried, brought another girl to his apartment, beautiful, willing. He couldn't even look at her. Paid her, sent her away, sat in the dark wondering what the hell was wrong with him. The business was suffering too. Not catastrophically, not yet, but people were noticing. His attention was split. Decisions came slower. The Russians were circling, smelling weakness. Sung-ho was covering, but Sung-ho wasn't him. You need to focus, Sung-ho said, late. They were alone in the office at Club Azor. People are talking. Let them talk. They're saying you're distracted. That's dangerous. I'm handling it. Are you? Jae-sung looked at him. Sung-ho held his gaze. Loyal, but not stupid. He saw what was happening. Maybe not the details, but the shape of it. There's a woman, Jae-sung admitted. Didn't know why he admitted it. Maybe because he needed to say it out loud. Sung-ho nodded slowly. That's a problem. Why? Because women make you soft, and soft gets you killed. He wanted to argue, wanted to say it wasn't like that, but it was. He was soft. For the first time in his life, something mattered more than survival, and that was terrifying. He went to Keisha that night, unscheduled, late. She answered the door in pajamas, hair down, face clean of the careful neutrality she usually wore. What's wrong? She asked. I need to see you. You're seeing me. No, I need... He stopped. Didn't know how to finish. She stepped aside, let him in, locked the door behind him. They didn't do the usual routine. No incense, no careful touching. They just sat, side by side on her worn couch. Her apartment was quiet. Kids asleep in the next room, city noise filtering up from the street. I'm losing control, he said. Of what? Everything. She didn't tell him it was okay, didn't offer empty comfort, just sat with him in it. You know what I am, he said. What I do? I know. And you're still here. So are you. He turned to look at her. Really look. Saw the lines around her eyes, the gray starting in her hair, the tiredness that never quite left. She was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with youth or perfection. She was beautiful because she was real, because she'd survived things that should have broken her and was still here, still soft enough to care about a man who probably didn't deserve it. I think about you, he said, all the time. It's interfering with my work, my focus, everything. That's called feelings, Jae-sung. I don't do feelings. You're doing them right now. He leaned back, closed his eyes. This is a mistake. Probably. I should stop coming here. Probably. But I won't. I know. She took his hand, just held it, her palm warm and slightly rough. Working hands. Honest hands. And sitting there in her cramped apartment, holding hands like teenagers, Jae-sung realized he'd already lost. Not to her, to himself, to the part of him that wanted something more than power, something real, something that didn't come with a transaction. The problem was, in his world, wanting things got you killed. And he wanted her so badly it was becoming indistinguishable from need. Outside, Seoul hummed, indifferent, cold, waiting to devour whatever weakness it could find. He stayed until dawn. They slept together for the first time on a Tuesday in late November. Not sex, just sleep. He'd stayed too late again, and she was too tired to send him home. She gave him half the bed, kept a pillow between them like a border. He lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Safe. It was absurd. He was a man who made other men disappear. But in that tiny apartment with her kids sleeping 10 feet away, he felt safe. He woke up before her, watched her face in the gray morning light, peaceful, unguarded. He wanted to touch her, but didn't. Just looked, tried to memorize it. The way people memorize things they know they'll lose. She opened her eyes, saw him watching. This is going to end badly. Not a question, a fact. I know. Then why are we doing it? I don't know. She turned onto her back, stared at the ceiling. I need to tell you something. His chest tightened. Okay. The reason I do this, help men like you, it's not because I'm kind or generous or any of that. Then why? She was quiet for a long time. He could hear the kids starting to stir in the next room. Morning sounds, life continuing. My ex, James, he had the same problem. Couldn't perform. Started when he came back from Afghanistan. PTSD, they said. But he wouldn't get help, wouldn't talk about it, just got angry. At me, at himself, at everything. Jae-sung stayed quiet, let her talk. I tried to help him, learned everything I could, read books, talked to therapists, found techniques, and it worked, sometimes. But the angrier he got, the worse it became, and the worse it became, the angrier he got. Until one night, he decided it was my fault, decided I wasn't trying hard enough, or I was cheating, or I didn't love him. The reasons changed, but the rage didn't. Her voice was flat, clinical, the way people talk about trauma when they've told the story too many times. He put me in the hospital. Broken jaw, 3 ribs. My daughter was 5. She saw it. That's why we left, came here, started over. Jae-sung felt sick. Keisha. I'm not finished. When I got here, I needed money. English teaching didn't pay enough. Cleaning offices wasn't enough. So I started doing this, helping men with the same problem. Word spreads in certain communities. Expats, military guys, men who can't go to normal doctors because of shame or pride or whatever. You don't owe me this story. Yes, I do. Because you need to understand what you're getting into. I'm good at this because I've done it before. Because I know how to touch broken men and make them feel whole. But that's all it is. A skill. Not magic. Not love. A skill I learned to survive. She finally looked at him. Her eyes were dry. Hard. And I'm telling you this now because I see how you look at me. Like I'm something pure. Something good. I'm not. I'm just a woman who got very good at managing male fragility because my life depended on it. These words should have hurt, should have made him angry. Instead, they made him want her more, because she was right. He had put her on some pedestal, made her into something she never claimed to be, and hearing the truth, the messy, ugly, survival-shaped truth, made her more real than anything else could have. "Does it work?" he asked. "What you do?" "Sometimes, if the man actually wants to get better, if he's willing to let go of whatever's holding him back. And if he's not, then it fails, and I take the money and move on, because I can't save people who don't want to be saved." Her daughter called from the other room. "Mommy!" The word that ended all adult conversations. Keisha got up, left him there. He heard her in the kitchen, making breakfast, talking to her kids in that bright voice mothers use, pretending everything was fine. He lay there feeling like he'd been gutted. Everything made sense now. The careful distance, the professional boundaries. She'd been through this before, knew exactly how it would end, and she was doing it anyway because she needed the money, because survival required compromise. He was just another transaction, another broken man paying for the illusion of being fixed. The realization should have freed him, should have made it easier to walk away, but it didn't. It just made him want to prove her wrong, want to be different from James, different from all the other men who'd taken her kindness and turned it into ownership. Except wanting to be different didn't make you different. It just made you another man with good intentions and bad wiring. He left while she was distracted, didn't say goodbye, drove back to Gangnam feeling hollowed out. Sung-ho was waiting at his apartment. Never a good sign. "We have a problem," Sung-ho said. "Always. The informant, the one who tipped customs. We found him." Jae-sung waited. "It's Minho, your cousin." The floor shifted. Minho, 28, Jae-sung's father's brother's son. Family, the one thing you didn't betray in this world. "You're sure?" Phone records, bank transfers. He's been talking to the Chinese, probably cutting a deal to move product through their channels instead of ours. Jae-sung sat down, felt the weight of it settling. Family betrayal was different. You could kill a stranger, you could even kill a friend, but family? That came with consequences that rippled outward. Blood feuds, splits, wars. "What do you want to do?" Sung-ho asked. "I need to think." "Boss, if we don't handle this fast..." "I said I need to think." Sung-ho left. Jae-sung sat in his pristine apartment, surrounded by expensive things that meant nothing, and tried to figure out how everything had fallen apart so quickly. A month ago, he was in control. Numb, but in control. Now he was losing his business, losing his focus, and falling for a woman who just told him he was basically a client, a paycheck with feelings. His phone rang. Keisha. He almost didn't answer, almost let it ring through. But he did, because he was weak now, because she'd made him weak. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For this morning, for making it sound like you don't matter." "Do I matter?" Silence. Long enough that he thought she'd hung up. "Yes," she said finally. "And that's the problem." "Why is that a problem?" "Because I can't afford to care about you, Jae-sung. I have 2 kids, a visa that expires in 18 months, an ex who might come back. I don't have space in my life for complicated feelings about a Korean gangster who's going to get himself killed or arrested or both. I'm not going to." "Yes, you are. Men like you always do. You think you're different. You think you can control it. But this life doesn't care what you think. It takes what it wants." He knew she was right. He knew it bone deep. But hearing her say it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "So what do I do?" he asked. I don't know. That's not my job. What is your job? To help you feel human for an hour. That's it. That's all I can give you. What if I want more? Then you're asking the wrong person. She hung up. He sat there holding the phone, feeling the walls close in. That night, he went to see Minho. Didn't tell Sung-ho, didn't tell anyone. Just drove to his cousin's apartment in Mapo, used his key, walked in like he had every right. Minho was home, alone, watching television. He jumped when Jae-sung entered. Guilty. Caught. Hyung, he said, older brother, the term family used. Jae-sung sat down, didn't say anything, just looked at him. Minho started crying, not begging, just crying, like he'd been waiting for this moment and was almost relieved it had finally come. I'm sorry, Minho said. I'm so sorry. Why? I needed money. My daughter's sick. The treatments, they're expensive. And you were distracted. Everyone saw it. I thought I could make a side deal. Just once, get the money, get out. Jae-sung felt nothing. No anger, no betrayal, just exhaustion. You know what I have to do, Jae-sung said. I know. Your family. I know. They sat there, two men who'd grown up together, played together, bled together, and now this. Jae-sung stood up. Minho flinched. I'll give you 24 hours, Jae-sung said. Take your family, go somewhere I can't find you. Don't come back. Minho looked up, shocked. Hyung. 24 hours. After that, it's not my choice anymore. He left, got in his car, drove nowhere in particular. He'd just committed his own betrayal. Not of Minho, of the system, the code, the rules that kept everything from collapsing into chaos. And he'd done it because Keisha was right. He was trying to be different, trying to prove he was more than what this life had made him. But mercy was just another form of weakness, and weakness in this world was fatal. Minho didn't run. Jae-sung found out 3 days later when Sung-ho called him at 2 a.m. His cousin had gone to the Chinese instead, offered everything, names, routes, bank accounts, thought protection was better than exile. They're moving on him tonight, Sung-ho said. The Russians heard. They want to make an example, show we can't control our own people. Where is he? Incheon, the warehouse district. Jae-sung hung up, didn't get dressed, just drove, still in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking like anyone, looking like no one. He got there too late, not by much, maybe 10 minutes, but 10 minutes was the difference between intervention and cleanup. Minho was alive, barely. They'd worked him over with pipes, methodical, professional, breaking bones in sequence, teaching a lesson that would echo. Jae-sung found him in the back office. 3 Russians standing over him, smoking, casual, like they'd just finished a shift at a factory. They saw Jae-sung, smiled. We were hoping you'd come, the tall one said. Dmitri, he knew him, had done business with him for years. Good business, respectful. He's family, Jae-sung said. We know. That's why we waited. They wanted him to finish it, wanted him to prove loyalty trumped blood. It was a test, the kind you couldn't fail without consequences. Minho was conscious, looking at him, one eye swollen shut, teeth missing, but looking. Hyung, he whispered. Please. The Russians handed Jae-sung a gun. Heavy. Cold. Already loaded. He took it. Held it. Looked at his cousin bleeding on the concrete floor of a warehouse that smelled like fish and gasoline. And couldn't do it. Not wouldn't. Couldn't. His hand wouldn't move. His finger wouldn't pull. Something fundamental had broken inside him. The part that did what needed doing. The part his father had built with fists and fear and 15 years of brutal education. Gone. Problem? Dmitri asked. Jason lowered the gun, handed it back. He's already dead. Let him bleed out. It was a compromise. Weak, obvious, but it gave everyone an exit. Dmitri studied him, saw everything, knew everything. You're soft now, Dmitri said. Not angry, observational, like diagnosing an illness. Maybe. Soft men don't last in this business. I know. Dmitri nodded, took the gun, put it in Minho's hand, helped him raise it, helped him place it under his own chin. Do it yourself, or we do it slow. Minho looked at Jae-sung one last time, not pleading anymore, just sad, understanding. Tell my daughter I'm sorry, he said. Then he pulled the trigger. Jae-sung didn't flinch, didn't look away, just watched his cousin head snap back, watched him fold, watched the light go out. The Russians left, patted Jae-sung on the shoulder on their way out. Friendly, like nothing had happened. He stood there alone with the body for a long time, trying to feel something. Anything. But there was just nothing. A void where his certainty used to be. He called Sung-ho, told him to handle cleanup, drove to Itaewon. It was 4 a.m. when he knocked on Keisha's door. She opened it half asleep, saw his face, let him in without questions. He sat on her couch. She made tea, brought it to him. He didn't drink it. Someone died tonight, he said. Did you kill them? No, but I let it happen. She sat beside him, didn't touch him, just sat. My cousin, Minho, he betrayed me, stole from me. In my world, that's death. Simple, clean. I was supposed to do it, prove I'm still hard, still capable. But you didn't. I couldn't. And now everyone knows. By morning, the whole network will know. Jae-sung went soft, couldn't kill his own blood. Is that true? That you're soft? He looked at her, really looked. Yes. Because of you? Because of you, because of this, because for the first time in my life, I wanted something more than survival. And wanting things makes you weak. Keisha was quiet. Then, what do you want, Jae-sung? I want out. Of the business? Of everything. The life, the violence, the constant calculation. I want to wake up and not wonder who's planning to kill me. I want to feel something other than nothing. You feel things now. I feel you. That's it. Just you. She closed her eyes. That's not enough to build a life on. I know. And you can't just walk away. You said so yourself. I know that too. They sat in silence. Outside, Seoul was starting to wake up. Early delivery trucks, street cleaners, the city resetting itself for another day. What if I could? He said. Could what? Walk away, leave, disappear. Would you come with me? She looked at him like he just asked her to fly. Jae-sung. Not now, not today, but eventually. If I could make it safe, if I could get us out, you and your kids, somewhere new. Would you? You don't even know me. I know enough. You know what I let you see. The rest is messy and complicated and not what you think. I don't care. You should care. I'm in debt. My visa's conditional. My ex could show up any day. I have 2 kids who need stability, not some fantasy escape with a man they don't know. This isn't a movie. This is real life, and real life doesn't work like that. It could. It doesn't. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. I'm in love with you, he said. The words hung there, heavy, true, terrifying. Keisha pulled her hand away, stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street. Don't, she said. Don't what? Don't love me. I can't carry that. Too late. Then unlove me. Figure it out. Because I can't be your reason, Jae-sung. I can't be the thing you're trying to save yourself for. That's too much weight. What if you're the only thing worth saving myself for? She turned. Her face was wet. He hadn't heard her cry. Then you're already lost, she said. Because I'm not some prize at the end. I'm just a tired woman trying to keep her kids fed and safe. I don't have space for your redemption arc. It should have hurt, should have broken something, but it just made him more certain. I'm getting out. With or without you, I'm done. They'll kill you. Probably. Then why? Because the alternative is becoming what my father was, what Min-ho became, what everyone in this life becomes, and I can't do it anymore. I'd rather die trying to be something else than live as this. Keisha sat down, covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shook. He wanted to comfort her, didn't know how, so he just waited. When she finally looked up, her eyes were raw. If you're serious, if you're actually serious, you need to be smart. You can't just walk away. You need leverage, insurance, something that keeps them from hunting you. I have files, evidence, enough to put half the organization away. Where? Safe deposit box, Switzerland. Been collecting for years, just in case. Does anyone know? No. She nodded slowly, thinking. And money. Enough. Accounts they don't know about, different names. I've been planning this longer than I knew. Why now? Because I finally have a reason. She looked at him for a long time. She could see her calculating the risks, the reality, the impossible logistics of extracting herself and 2 kids from a life she'd barely managed to build. I need time, she said finally. How much? I don't know. Weeks, maybe months. I need to figure out custody, legal status. I can't just disappear with my kids. James would use it against me. I can handle James. No more handling, no more violence. If we do this, if we actually do this, we do it clean, legal, safe. He wanted to argue, wanted to tell her his way was faster, but he understood. She'd spent her whole life cleaning up after male violence. She wasn't going to start her new life the same way. Okay, he said. Okay, we do it your way. She laughed, broken, disbelieving. You're insane. Probably. This won't work. Maybe not. We'll probably both end up dead or worse. Worse than this? She didn't have an answer for that. He stayed until sunrise. They didn't talk anymore, just existed together. Her head on his shoulder, his hand in her hair. 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage and were stupid enough to think they could build something from the debris. When he left, Sung-ho was waiting outside, leaning against Jae-sung's car. We need to talk, Sung-ho said. Not now. Yes, now. The Russians are asking questions, the Chinese are circling, and word is spreading about last night. You're losing control, boss. I know. So what's the play? Jae-sung looked at him. Sung-ho, who'd been loyal for 5 years. Sung-ho, who'd covered for him. Sung-ho, who was smart enough to see exactly what was happening. There is no play, Jae-sung said. I'm out. Sung-ho's face didn't change. Just nodded. When? Soon. They won't let you. I know. You'll need help. Jae-sung looked at him. You offering? Sung-ho smiled, sad, resigned. No, I like living, but I won't stop you either. Just be smart and fast. The window's closing. He walked away, left Jae-sung standing on a street in Itaewon as the sun came up over a city that didn't care if he lived or died. The collapse had started, and there was no stopping it now. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for everything to fall apart completely. The Russians moved first, took 2 of his clubs, not violently, just walked in one night with paperwork, legitimate paperwork. Jae-sung had been so distracted he hadn't noticed the shell company shifting, the quiet buyouts. By the time he saw it, they owned 40% of his territory. The Chinese came next, offered the remaining lieutenants better terms, higher percentages, more autonomy. Half of them switched within a week. Sung-ho stayed neutral, didn't betray him, didn't help him either, just watched it happen with the sad inevitability of someone watching a terminal patient decline. Jae-sung let it go, all of it. Signed papers, made calls, transferred assets, burned bridges so thoroughly there'd be nothing to come back to even if he wanted to. His father would have killed him for this. Maybe that's why it felt right. He saw Keisha twice during those 3 weeks, both times brief. She was working on the legal side, custody arrangements, visa applications, talking to lawyers who didn't ask too many questions. It was slow, bureaucratic, nothing like the movies. James showed up again. Not at her apartment this time, at her work, the office building in Gangnam where she cleaned. Waited for her in the parking garage at 2 in the morning. She called Jae-sung. He could hear the fear in her voice even though she was trying to hide it. He got there in 12 minutes, found James drunk, angry, yelling about his kids, about rights, about respect. Jae-sung walked up slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "You need to leave," he said. James looked at him, sized him up. "Who the fuck are you?" "Someone who's asking you to leave." "Or what? You gonna make me, chopstick?" Jae-sung didn't react, just stood there, calm, still. James threw a punch, sloppy, drunk. Jae-sung moved slightly, let it pass. Didn't counter, didn't engage. "Walk away," Jae-sung said again. James threw another punch, this one connected, caught Jae-sung on the cheek, split the skin. He tasted blood. He still didn't fight back. James looked confused, then angrier, like the lack of response was somehow worse than resistance. "Fight me, you pussy." "No." "Why not?" "Because she asked me not to." That stopped James. He looked at Keisha, then back at Jae-sung. Something shifted in his face. Understanding, maybe? Or just exhaustion. "She always finds the broken ones," James said. Quieter now, sad. "Thinks she can fix them. Can't. Nobody can." He walked away, stumbled, got in a taxi, disappeared into Seoul's late-night machinery. Keisha was shaking. Jae-sung held her, right there in the parking garage that smelled of oil and exhaust. Held her while she cried. Not from fear, from release. "He's right," she said into his chest. "I do try to fix broken men." "Am I broken?" "Completely." "Can you fix me?" "No." "Good." She laughed. Small, wet, real. They stood there until her supervisor called asking where she was. She went back to work. He went home, touched his split cheek, felt oddly proud of it. 2 days later, Jae-sung made the final call, the one he'd been avoiding. His uncle, his father's older brother, the only family he had left besides the cousin currently in a morgue. They met at a restaurant in Gyeongbuk, old school, the kind where the floor was heated and you sat on cushions, and the owner knew 3 generations of the family. His uncle was 70, white hair, liver spots, still sharp eyes. "You're leaving," the old man said, not a question. "Yes." "Because of a woman?" "Partly. Mostly." Jae-sung nodded. His uncle sipped tea, looked out the window at nothing in particular. "Your father would be ashamed." "I know." "I'm not." That surprised him. Jae-sung looked up. "This life," his uncle said, "it takes everything. Your father knew that. I know that. You're learning it now. The smart ones get out. The stupid ones die in it. You're being smart. It doesn't feel smart. It never does. Feels like cowardice. Feels like failure. But 20 years from now, if you're still breathing, you'll understand. Did you ever want out? The old man smiled. Every single day. But I had no reason. No one waiting. Just this. He gestured vaguely at everything. The restaurant, the life, the wait. She must be special. She is. Then go. Fast. Don't look back. They finished tea in silence. When Jae-sung stood to leave, his uncle grabbed his wrist. You can't come back, he said. You understand that. Once you're out, you're out. If you return, for any reason, I can't protect you. I understand. Good. They bowed to each other, formal, final. Jae-sung rapped out of that restaurant and never saw his uncle again. The last week moved fast. Keisha got emergency custody. Temporary, but enough. Her visa was extended under humanitarian grounds. Her lawyer was good. Expensive. Jae-sung paid without her knowing. He liquidated everything, turned holdings into cash, cash into accounts, accounts into new identities. Not for him, for her, for the kids. So if anything happened to him, they'd be protected. They planned to leave on a Thursday, morning flight, Seoul to Singapore, then somewhere else. They hadn't decided where. Somewhere warm, somewhere anonymous, somewhere they could breathe. Wednesday night, Jae-sung went to his apartment one last time. Packed nothing. Just walked through it, looked at the expensive art he'd never liked, the furniture someone else had chosen, the view he'd stopped seeing years ago. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. It's done, a voice said. Male, unfamiliar. What's done? The thing you paid for. Clean, quick. He won't be a problem anymore. The line went dead. Jae-sung stood there, processing, then understanding. James. He hadn't ordered it, hadn't asked, but someone, Sung-ho probably, had tied up the loose end, one final act of loyalty, or maybe just pragmatism. Either way, James was gone. Jae-sung should have felt something. Guilt, relief, anything. He felt nothing. Just tired. He left the apartment, left the keys on the counter, took nothing but his phone and wallet. Met Keisha at her place. The kids were already asleep, bags packed, passports ready. She looked at him, saw something in his face. What happened? Nothing. Jae-sung. Something got handled, something that needed to. Don't ask me about it. She studied him, then nodded, understanding that some doors, once closed, should stay that way. They sat on her couch, the same couch where this had started, where he'd first lain down and let her touch him, let her see him. Are you scared? Terrified. Me too. We don't have to do this. Yes, we do. He looked at her. This woman who'd accidentally saved him by refusing to save him, who'd shown him that being human wasn't weakness, just different kind of strength. I love you, he said. I know. Do you love me? She was quiet for a long time. He waited, didn't push. I don't know, she said finally, but I want to find out. And that's enough for now. It was. They slept on the couch, holding each other. Not talking, just breathing in sync. Morning came too fast and too slow. They took a taxi to the airport, her kids confused and excited in equal measure. The boy kept asking where they were going. Keisha kept saying, somewhere new, like it was an adventure and not an escape. At the gate, Jae-sung looked back one last time, at Seoul. At the city that had made him and broken him, at the life he was leaving. Sung-ho was there, standing near the windows, far enough to be invisible, close enough to be seen. They made eye contact. Sung-ho nodded once. Jae-sung nodded back. No words, no goodbye, just acknowledgement. Then he turned, followed Keisha and her kids through security, through the terminal, onto the plane. The flight attendant smiled, asked if he was comfortable. He said yes, even though comfortable felt like a language he'd forgotten how to speak. Keisha's daughter, the older one, Maya, looked at him from across the aisle. "Are you going to be our dad now?" she asked. Keisha started to apologize. Jae-sung stopped her. "I don't know," he told the girl. "Is that okay?" Maya thought about it, serious, careful. "Yeah," she said. "That's okay." The plane took off, Seoul disappeared below, became lights, became nothing. Jae-sung held Keisha's hand, felt his body respond to her touch. Not sexually, just alive, present, real. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what came next. And somehow, that was fine. The fear was still there, the uncertainty, the knowledge that the past doesn't just let you go, that men like him don't get clean endings. But sitting there, 30,000 feet above the ocean, holding hands with a woman who taught him that broken things don't need fixing, they just need accepting, he thought maybe survival wasn't the point anymore. Maybe living was. The flight attendant came by, asked if they needed anything. Keisha squeezed his hand. "We're good," she said. And for that moment, on that plane, leaving everything behind, they were. Sometimes what you wish for lies within the things you avoid or are afraid of confronting. If you are that person, I believe it is high time you become who you are by accepting your worst fears. The end.